Hello, I'm Andrew from Limitless Park, and I love a drop tower. But not just any drop tower, I'm talking about one with really good theming around it. For instance, Disney's Tower of Terror is perfect. It's so perfect that I'm thinking about creating a fan club for it. I'm gonna name it the Tower of Terrorists. Wait.
If you're not a huge baby, then you love a good drop tower. The feeling of weightlessness while dropping and the sights you get from them can be unmatched. They're usually some of the best thrills and views in the entire theme park.
But what if I'm blind and also can't feel the sensation of plummeting hundreds of feet to my doom?
Well, don't worry. If a drop tower is really good, it'll have more than just those two things to satisfy you. It'll also have a good amount of theming to look at.
Did you miss the part where I said I'm blind?
So, what qualifies as a drop tower with good theming? Well, I'd consider it to be pretty much anything that has more than just your casual giant rod in the sky. Should I censor this? Almost every theme park in the world has some kind of drop tower in it, even if it's just one of those smaller ones in the park's kids area. Weirdly, I remember seeing one of these at Chicago's Navy Pier a few years back, and strangely enough, it technically was themed to a lighthouse, which is neat, I guess. But that's what we're looking for. Theming. Not just your old run-of-the-mill shot tower gracing the skies of every Cedar Fair park.
Do something original! Oh hey, Dorney Park!
No, I'm talking about drop towers with actual theming around them. It can be as simple as a bit of rock work and cardboard cutouts around it, or as elaborate as something like Disney Sea's Tower of Terror. Oh my god, why is this prettier than any real hotel I've ever stayed at? So I want to take a look at a few themed drop towers that I consider to be the cream of the crop, as well as maybe a few that are technically themed but I think look pretty bad. Now this isn't going to be a definitive list of all themed drop towers in the world. I'm sure I'm going to miss quite a few. These are just the ones that I want to talk about right now. Maybe in the future I can pick this topic up again, so if there's something that I missed that you think deserves to be on here, let me know and maybe I can blab on and on about it some other day.
In the meantime, let's make my fan club proud and kick things off by talking about the Tower of Terror attractions at the different Disney parks.
Many people who've been to Walt Disney World have ridden the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror at Disney's Hollywood Studios. It's a drop tower inspired by the Twilight Zone TV show from the late 50s, which features riders checking into a stay at the haunted Hollywood Tower Hotel while learning its terrifying backstory about the family's disappearance from the show's host, Rod Sterling.
Nothing says family fun at a Disney park quite like a missing persons case.
The ride opened in 1994 and was an early example of Disney adding extremely thrilling rides to their parks. The Disney parks had never actually seen a drop tower before, so it was a welcome addition. That said, just because Disney was adding a big scary thrill ride doesn't mean they were just gonna keep it devoid of their Disney magic. Not only is Walt Disney World's Tower of Terror a drop ride, but it's technically got a dark ride segment too. You see, there's a part in the middle of the ride where the elevator vehicle leaves the shaft it's traveling in and begins to move forward into another shaft using a sort of trackless dark ride system.
That's right. Way before the modern day craze of different trackless rides like Rise of the Resistance and Ratatouille, Tower of Terror was doing it first. It was just doing it really, really slowly.
So yeah, the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror at Hollywood Studios is a technological marvel. But what if you wanted something less impressive?
Oh, thank God. I was getting overwhelmed with excitement. I need something lukewarm and quick.
Walt Disney World's Tower of Terror may have been first, but there also is a version of the ride at Disneyland Paris's Walt Disney Studios Park.
Oh, sorry. I forgot they're changing that park's name to Gonorrhea.
Disney's second gate in Paris has a version of Tower of Terror that's almost exactly similar, except the outside is worse and it's missing the dark ride portion. What a lame excuse for a haunted murder hotel. But this boring form of Tower of Terror didn't originate in Paris. It actually first premiered at Disney's California Adventure in 2004. It looks pretty similar to the Paris version though, and it rides pretty much the same.
I actually rode this Tower of Terror back in either 2015 or 2016. I'm not really sure, but I am sure that it sucked.
That version of Tower of Terror at California Adventure isn't actually around anymore though. That's because in 2017 it was rethemed to Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, which uses the same ride system and building, but switches up the drop patterns, set pieces, facades, storylines, screens, and pretty much everything about it that they could change. I know some people liked Twilight Zone Tower of Terror at that park, but personally I think Guardians of the Galaxy is a way better and more exciting exciting ride that takes advantage of the limited ride system far better. Sure, if Guardians replaced the one in Walt Disney World, I think that would be a huge bummer, but in my opinion, it's kinda dumb to prefer the California one to this masterpiece. Unless you're talking about just the exterior, because yeah, this is ugly.
It made me blind again.
But what if you don't want to ride Guardians of the Galaxy, but you want another take on the Tower of Terror without the Twilight Zone theming? Well, legend has it, there is another option.
This reveal would have been better if I didn't joke about it like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, so Tokyo Disney Sea has a version of Tower of Terror with its own original theme of the Hotel Hightower, a gorgeous hotel with a super in-depth convoluted backstory about an adventurer named Henry Hightower who stole rare artifacts and stores them at the hotel, and one of those artifacts is an idol called the Shiriki Utundu, which was from Africa, and the natives were mad at him for stealing their god, even though the idol can't be the god, right? It's gotta be just like a model of the god. I don't know. But anyways, they said they'd curse him, or the idol would at least curse him, and then on New Year's in 1899, Hightower held a press conference about the expedition he took to Africa to get the idol, and then he made claims about it not being cursed, but it actually was cursed, and then he went to his elevator to go up to his private penthouse in the hotel, and then at the top of the elevator, the idol came to life and started getting really angry and made the elevator plummet all the way down to the ground, and after it crashed, people came to try to rescue him, but all they found was his hat and the idol, which means the idol didn't necessarily kill him, but just turned him into a ghost or something. But after that, the hotel was closed for a decade, and people started talking about it being haunted. And then in 1912, instead of demolishing the hotel, a restoration company from New York, because this hotel is actually supposed to be located in New York, that's what the land is around it anyways, they decided to refurbish it for a historical significance and offer paid tours, and that's how riders are actually able to get into the hotel for the ride.
They need goddamn spark notes for this plot.
Yeah, the story kind of goes on from there, but from my perspective, it's just cool to see a beautiful new take on the Tower of Terror with some awesome effects and theming. I might not care about the story as much as others, but I can't deny that it might be the very best when it comes to themed drop towers.
But what about the very okayest when it comes to drop towers?
Well, one I have personal experience with is Giant Drop at Six Flags Great America. At first glance, you might think, Andrew, that's just a massive stick. To that I say, yes, it's a massive stick, with some theming at the bottom of the ride. I don't think many people know this, or at least acknowledge it, but Giant Drop is actually supposed to be an ore excavator built by the fictional Southwest Mining Company to do some work at the now abandoned Loco Diablo mine. The drop tower is located in the Southwest Territory area of the park, so it does technically fit in with the theming of the land. I'm not sure I can say the same about JB's Barbecue and Sports Bar located like 2 feet away though, but they do have some good nachos.
Speaking of themed drop towers at Six Flags parks, Magic Mountain is home to Lex Luthor's Drop of Doom. And when I say themed drop tower, I mean themed drop tower with the biggest quotation marks possible.
Yeah, Lex Luthor has some decent theming in the queue for a Six Flags park, basically being themed to LexCorp, the notorious Superman villain's lair and headquarters. There's some different props and set pieces that might be cool for someone who's a fan of DC Comics, but it's not anything outstanding. And as for the ride itself, there's no real theming on there outside of a spiel from Lex Luthor at the top right before you drop. It is a 400-foot tall drop tower ride though, so even if there was theming to look at on the way up, I bet most people would just have their eyes closed.
So that was pretty lame overall, but I'm more of a Marvel fan than a DC fan anyways, so maybe Doctor Doom's Fearfall at Universal's Islands of Adventure will be more up my alley.
They're the same. Okay, Doctor Doom's queue is technically better, and I do remember enjoying walking through it when I wrote it a few years ago, but like, I got nothing, man. Basically, the story is Doctor Doom created a drop tower invention thing that will somehow extract fear from its riders, and that fear will be used to defeat the Fantastic Four.
Before you ask, no, I don't know how this works, okay? This is like the exact opposite of the complexity of Tokyo Disney Sea's Tower of Terror, yet it's just as stupid.
But yeah, you're basically a test subject for Doctor Doom, and after the ride, he laughs all maniacally because apparently he succeeded in getting your fear. Even if you're somehow physically incapable of being afraid, yeah, he still wins. But maybe the whole drop tower fear machine thing works like Monsters Inc., like how the monsters are using scaring to get fear to power their city. No wonder Doctor Doom's real name is Randall Boggs. That is a completely true fact, no need to look it up. You know, if he really wanted a ton of fear, he should just go extract it from the Cat in the Hat ride.
My brain hurts, and these last few superhero drop tower rides have been pretty terrible. I don't know what could make them better, though. Maybe if they had some sort of, like, I don't know, giant crocodile sort of vibe.
Well, thank God Chessington World of Adventures has us covered with Croc Drop. This UK theme park has been adding a lot of decently themed rides lately, and one of those just happens to be this drop tower inside of a massive crocodile structure. There's a rough storyline here about an ancient Egyptian crocodile god called Sobek who's been possessed and is destroying the Nile River. In order to fix this, riders are asked to take part in a ceremony to remove the evil spirits from Sobek, which essentially equates to dropping down into the jaws of the crocodile in order to restore the Nile River. Overall, it's nothing mind-blowing or super relatable.
God, I remember my first plunge into crocodile jaws.
To most people, but it's still an enjoyable, subtle story for this small drop tower. Now let's continue in Europe, but naturally we're trading out crocodiles for wolves. Gardaland in Italy has actually just opened Wolf Legend, which is a similar size to Croc Drop and even features a giant wolf head that you drop into. Is this plagiarism? I mean, even the plot is similar. There's basically a giant majestic wolf that has been turned to stone by a curse, and you have to break it by, guess what? Dropping into its jaws. At least it looks really cool. The location is awesome as it's set right in the middle of their shaman roller coaster at the park.
Okay, are there any other curses on different drop tower rides in Europe that need breaking? Put your hand down, Phantasialand!
Actually, we should probably talk about this one because Phantasialand in Germany might just be the best themed park in the entire world, and its drop tower certainly reflects that. Mystery Castle is its name, and the castle does look quite mysterious if I don't say so myself. As for the plot, I guess there's this evil family called the Windhovens that entered some sort of pact with an unspecified evil, and once again we have to do some dropping on a tower in order to break the curse. I'm not sure why exactly we'd want to do that, considering the park's website literally calls the Windhovens greedy. Kinda seems like we should just let them die, but whatever.
Okay, enough with these curses, and enough with Europe. I don't want to talk about them anymore. I just want to go back to my good old home country, the United States of America, and talk about all the themed drop towers there, like, Dr. Doom's Fearfall has a second tower. Screw it, I could talk about that for 30 minutes. But there's gotta be something better than that. Oh, the candy's dropping all over me. This can only mean one thing. Candy Drop Tower!
Hershey Park in Pennsylvania has not one, not two, but 3 Hershey candy themed drop towers. And by themed, I mean there's literally just banners and art for Hershey bars, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and Hershey's Kisses on each of them. Boring!
So yeah, overall it's kinda hard to theme a drop tower. Disney does it okay for the most part. Most of the other US parks are pretty bad at it. And Europe is okay at it, although they do have this weird fixation on getting cursed.
Of course, there's tons of others that I either didn't cover, don't even know exist, or don't have much to say despite wanting to touch on them right now. For instance, Holiday World has Liberty Launch, which is technically themed in line with the 4th of July section of the park, although it doesn't take it much further than that. Or there's Firefall at Silver Dollar City, which sees riders volunteering for the Silver Dollar City Fire Brigade to put out fires for the park, which kinda sounds bad now that I'm saying it out loud. But what about Unikitty's Disco Drop at Legoland, Florida, which is themed to the character in the Lego Movie? Oh, and how could I forget the Crystal Tower? Formerly known as the Haunted Mine Drop at Glenwood Caverns, this drop ride sees riders joining adventurers Crystal and Raymond to uncover a secret crystal grotto which is guarded by a troll. The whole thing takes place in the Iron Mountain and actually plummets riders way down into a cave. It's nuts.
So yeah, I think that's where I want to leave it right now. Again, I probably missed a few, so I could potentially make a sequel to this at some point, but I'm just hitting my personal limit right now. You don't want to see how twitchy and sweaty I'd get if I talked about this any longer. But I got one more drop tower to talk about, because of course, no themed drop tower list is complete without the Fairground Frog Hopper ride. It's themed to frog.